Interesting from our perspective, especially with unemployment being so low, the great thing about our industry is there's more jobs than there are people today. The war for talent is at a premium. So when you think about these large projects that you're looking to build, but yet there's no component on how you're going to attract and retain that top IT talent, because in most cases, you're going to have to go out and find the talent to help complete the project in some cases, in most cases. But if there's not a strategy in place or a partnership with a service provider to identify these people, the project is going to struggle. It's either going to be over budget, it's going to have to be redone at some components. So I think it's important to sit here and think about what kind of workforce planning strategy do we have in place? Do we have a formal process in place where I work today? Do we have a resource planning process in place when we think about our project plans? It's interesting for my sales team, right, when they're trying to gather requirements from, say, the technical professional or the managers, let's just say in this case. Managers give us the requirements, right? We get the specs on what type of resource you're looking for. We find a great candidate. We put them through a screening process. We present the candidate to the customer, and the customer calls us back and says, hey, we don't like the candidate, because business never got an opportunity to look at the candidate, or we never got an opportunity to talk to the business professionals or the stakeholders who are involved in the process. So what gets lost is your project gets delayed because you don't have the resource to kick off the project or to complete an important phase of the project. So it's just critical. When we sit here, when Milan asked us to come and talk about collaboration, it's critical for us, right? Especially when you sit here and think about the importance of identifying the right person or right group of people to complete a project. If we don't have the right requirements because business and IT can't come together to identify what those requirements are and to come to a happy medium, think about how difficult it is to find the right person. So in today's market, right, on average, technical professionals are probably getting about 25 calls a week from recruiters. At least 25 calls per week. So what's important to them today, it's not so much money's important, right? I saw Milan's slide, right? $100,000, $150,000. That's accurate. As a consultant, they're probably making a little bit more than that, right? But they are very selective on the type of projects they're looking for. They're looking for those innovative projects. They're looking for not just the financial component, but they want the reward of working on a project that's innovative and creative, where they can collaborate and be a part of something special. So it's, I think it's a big opportunity in our industry to work with service providers, to be involved in that planning process, to help attract these people. Because I can't tell you how many times per week that we have consultants turn down opportunities because they have a lot of different opportunities. And we tell our customers during the interview process, if they get the opportunity to talk to the business as well as the managers, you have to sell the candidate on the opportunity. It's not just because you have a need they're going to want to take the job. So, you know, you might be sitting there, well, we have an opening, we have a great company, they should want to work for us. Well, in most cases, if they are good at their job, excuse me, they're going to get a lot of offers. They're going to get a lot of opportunities. So it's critical from your position as IT leaders as well as technologists that you are selling why it's a great place to work, right? So we get a lot of requests from our customers. Hey, can you help us build a value proposition on why someone would want to work here? Right? So that sounds a bit odd. Why am I selling someone to want to work here? Well, again, the unemployment rate is virtually zero. These technology professionals, they're getting calls every day, right? I have a big recruiting team back in our office in New York City. And we know the 500 people that go to work for us every day are getting calls every day from other recruiters about new opportunities. So it's critical as you sit here today and think about the project that you might be assigned to or working on, or the project plan that you are putting together. What kind of resource plan do we have in place? Are we proactively thinking about it, or are we in a reactive state where when the time comes, we'll think about how we're going to find someone to come and complete the project. So a large part of our job is to be proactive with you. We believe we're experts in the labor market. We put enough people to work on a yearly basis to put ourselves in a position where we get to talk to Gardner. Gardner calls us and talk to us about the labor market. Talk to us about what you're seeing. What are the challenges for companies to assemble teams? That is the greatest challenge right now for CIOs. When we do surveys, they talk to us about finding quality IT talent, right? The ability to assemble teams. And that's their biggest heartburn right now. So I think, if anything, it's a great opportunity to think, are we collaborating as a group, meaning the business professionals as well as the technical professionals? And how are we working with the service provider? Is the service provider a afterthought? We bring them in late into the game? Or are they involved in the workforce planning? Are they involved in the resource planning? Because that's a critical component. The technical professionals, our industry goes through phases, right? And right now, it's a great time to be an IT professional. You get to kind of dictate what you want. And if your company is not doing a great job in selling you on the opportunities within your organization, you start to see a revolving door within these organizations. The attrition rates begin to go up. So I think those of you who are here today, think about your current situation. Is there a plan in place in terms of how we onboard people, how we identify people, or are we too busy trying to figure out who's paying for the project, who has ownership of the project, who's driving the project, versus the collaboration piece starts from you and it comes to us. If you are a technical professional today, maybe you're in between jobs, maybe you're in a job today that maybe you're passively looking, right? So, I look at the 500 people that go to workforce every day. I would say probably 75% of them are passively looking every day, right? They're not intentionally looking for a job, but if the right job comes along, they're going to leave. Not because of the money, but more about the opportunity. So if you are a technical professional here today, think about if you are working with a recruiter. Does anyone here work with a recruiter? So some of you. So what's important from a recruiter's perspective, or from your perspective in identifying or picking a recruiter, is, does the recruiter send me opportunities that are meaningless to me? Or does the recruiter take time to understand my skills, goals, and interests to make sure they're putting me in the right opportunity and not just looking for a fill? Have I met my recruiter? Has my recruiter taken me out to lunch? Has my recruiter sat down with me and gone over my resume? Right? So you probably need to find a recruiter that we would consider kind of a subject matter expert in the local market. Your recruiter should tell you what's going on in the market, who's hiring, where are the best projects, right? Who's got the paying the best rates. But be selective with your recruiters. I'm not telling you call tech systems, right? I'm trying to be neutral today. But I do have a big recruiting team here today. Handing out cards. But I think that's important, most critical, right? You want to be looked after. You don't want to just be a resource for someone just to fill a job. You want to make sure they're vested in your interest. From an account manager perspective, the feedback we get from customers when we do surveys, they want a strategic account manager. They want someone who's involved in their workforce planning. They want someone that understands their business, not only from a technical perspective, but the cultural element that makes up your office. Why would someone want to work here? So that collaborative effort is just as important for us to be able to find the right candidate to fit your opportunity. It's always fascinating. It's neat today to be here in front of you, because it's frustrating on our part when we send 1, 2, 3, 5 candidates for an opportunity, and we're told, hey, this is not the right fit for our job, right? And it's for us, it becomes a priority perspective. When we work with customers, we want to prioritize who's going to partner with us. who's going to give us access to the managers, to the business groups, to get a true understanding of what they're looking for? Because if we don't have that access, we kind of prioritize our business. We're in an industry where the staffing industry is a $20 billion industry, right? So, you know, we're at a place in New York where we have 150 active customers. So in some cases, we can be a little bit selective in where we work. It's not because we want to be spiteful or anything of that nature, but if we don't have access to you as professionals, we can't help you. We can't work through a system. We can't work through an electronic job description. So I just encourage you, if you are in an environment today where maybe the service provider is kept at arm's length, take an active approach and change the mindset of how your company works. I'm not saying you need to do that with every service provider, because I get it. There's a lot of staffing service companies out there that can, you know, they drive you crazy. I get it. My account managers are pretty aggressive. But I think what's important is their goal is to understand your business and understand your culture, those soft skills. Because most of our customers today, they're looking for that hybrid individual, meaning it's not just about the technology, but it's also about, you know, can they be a creative thinker? Can they work in a collaborative environment? Is this someone that's going to fit into our culture? Is it going to make my team better? And we can't be effective in finding you that type of resource by getting an electronic email saying, hey, this is what we're looking for. It makes it very challenging. So, sorry I don't have a PowerPoint presentation today. Any questions, right? Any thoughts on the industry? No questions? Okay, I know it's late. Go ahead.
I have a question, but I don't want to hold anyone because this is very specific. I work for Save the Children. We're a nonprofit. So I'm looking at this, you know, we could potentially have a relationship where we could hire a consultant from Tech System, or maybe Tech System could find me a new job, or maybe does Tech System do you get applicants who don't have enough experience that maybe need volunteer experience with like jQuery and JavaScript, and do you ever have that?
So if I look at the 500 people that go to work for, it's a wide range of resources from entry level to senior folks, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I think from a recruiter's perspective, they'll sit down with you, they'll look at your background. We have assessments that we can help you with. So I think it's just more on an individual basis to be able to sit down and look at your individual situation and kind of give you, we kind of look at our recruiters as not just as recruiters, but they're career counselors. It's their job to kind of guide you, help you with your resume, and kind of lead you in the right direction. You know, we work with a lot of technical schools in the local area. We do resume workshops. We do mock interviews with graduating students. So it's not just about putting people to work. We kind of look at it as, you know, we're talent management experts, and we work with enough people and enough customers to get enough feedback. You know, the surveys we do are so helpful. It gives us insight into your world and what's most important. And then we try to customize that approach to make sure we're providing you with world-class individuals. So I don't know if I answered your question, but you know, we would be more than happy to answer questions or do an assessment. And you know, in some cases, we come out to customers and just build value propositions. You know, help customers understand or help them figure out why would someone want to work at your company. Like if you sit here today, why would someone want to work at your company? Just, you know, in some cases, well, it's XYZ company. Everyone wants to work here. Well, that's not necessarily the case. You know, on average in New York City, there's a startup company times 10 popping up every week. So the competition is getting scarce. But if you have a shortage of people, look at your team today. Do you need people? Are you trying to complete a project today, but you don't have the resources? Again, who's the voice within the team to say, hey, what are we doing to attract these people? Do we have a strategy in place? So, go ahead, Milan.
Do you find that developers tend to want to be more employees or consultants? Like where if there is any?
Well, we're seeing a lot within the startup world. A lot of startup companies prefer the direct placement. So we do a lot of direct placement. I think it just depends on the individual. I think we have folks that enjoy the consulting component of it, right? They enjoy not necessarily dealing with the office politics as a full-time employee. They get brought in, do a project, maybe get exposed to some new technology, and then they move on to the next project. So I think there's kind of two groups. There's the direct placement folks that like the stability of a perm job, right? On average, we typically see about 2.5 to 3 years that a perm job when we think about stability. But I think we see a wide range of folks. Some people enjoy the perm jobs. They are a little bit intimidated by the consulting piece because it's consulting. It could be a 6-month engagement. It could be a year. But I think it's just what you're used to.
So which one is easier for you to staff?
Um,
Like like historically speaking, what has been easier for you to?
So if we look at our payroll today, I would say 95% of it is staffing, right?
Full time.
Full time, no contract.
Oh, contract.
The average length for a full-time position from start to finish when we receive a requisition is almost 90 days, right? So from the moment the technology team reaches out to us or HR, requests a need for a resource, from the moment we identify the resource until the resource is onboarded, 90 days. So you think about that, that's almost 3 months. It is 3 months. And so what happens if the candidate doesn't accept the job? Now you've lost 3 months, and now you're looking probably at another 3 months. So now you're looking at 6 months before you onboard somebody. So again, it kind of goes back to the collaboration piece. Now, what is that internal process? Because most technical professionals are not waiting around 3 months to get a job. Now, maybe they're in a full-time job and they can wait because they're in a full-time job. But in most cases, right now we're struggling with our customer base because the decision process and the decision criteria internally is so undefined in most cases, right? It's a phone interview, it's a personal interview. Well, so-and-so in business wasn't around to be a part of the interview, and that process gets delayed and delayed and delayed, and then the consultant ends up taking another job. So I think, again, it's a great opportunity just to kind of look internally and what kind of system do we have in place to identify resources and put them through the process and get them onboarded. So I think it's the preference of the technical professional. Thank you. We're excited to be a part of it, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email us. We're probably going to stick around. Feel free to talk to Mayor or